Let's talk about some open string licks. So it has been a hot minute since we've done a country guitar licks and tricks video. So this is going to be episode 7, I think 7. I'll fact check that. But wanted to hop on here and do just a quick lesson on some open string lick ideas. All that means is you're incorporating open strings, so just these 6 open strings into some licks that you're playing. So right, normally a lick, if you're doing an A minor pentatonic, right, that doesn't have any open string licks. So all it means is we're somehow using these open strings, kind of letting them ring out against whatever other notes we're playing. So it can give you kind of a cool sound, and what I want to talk about today is we're going to learn one, and then we're going to move it and play the exact same pattern, but we're going to be playing it on different parts of the neck, and that gives you a kind of different sound depending on where you're playing it. For example, if we're playing it in the key of A, so in there we have our open E string and our open B string ringing out against kind of like A major notes. So the B and the E relative to A major is going to sound different than a B and an E relative to like a G major. We can do it in the key of B, key of C, key of D, key of E. So yeah, I'm going to break down exactly what it is I'm doing. I'm going to throw some tabs on the screen for the key of A. We'll learn it in the key of A first, and then if you want the tabs for the other keys, different positions on the neck, those will be over on patreon.com, so I'll have a link to that below. If you want to get those, go check that out. But yeah, this lick, Brent Mason does stuff like this all the time in the key of A, and he has 1,000 different variations for how he does it, but even like his song Hot Wired, right, he's using those open strings as to kind of ring out against the other notes he's playing. So what we're going to do here, try to get this in a position you can see here without too much glare. I am sliding into that 5th fret in this case, 4th to 5th on the high E string, and then I'm picking that. In this case, it's a G note, the whatever fret that is, 8th fret I think, on the B string, and then I'm using my finger to let that open E ring out. And then it kind of sounds cool in the key of A because we're doubling up. We let that open E ring out on the high E string, then I'm playing the 5th fret on the B string, which is also an E. Then I'm doing a similar idea. I'm now picking on the G string on the 7th fret, and then using a finger to let my open B string ring out. So that's just a great thing to work on getting up to speed. Then I'm doing that hammer on 5th to 6th fret, and we can just resolve it there. That is our root if we're playing in the key of A. But I like to take it one step further. So I'm just pulling off 7 to 5, walking down kind of the blues scale there. Then I'm pulling off to another open string, which in this case, we're pulling off to an open A on that A string. So it works great over the key of A, obviously. Then hammering on again, 3 to 4, finally resolving to our low A on the low E string, that 5th fret. this is so cool is when we go to start moving this, those open strings are just going to give it a completely different feel depending on where we're playing it on the neck. So if we're thinking key of G, right, we have our kind of our closed G minor shape there. But when we add the exact same pattern, but pulling off of those open strings, it gives it a different flavor, but also still sounds super cool, and it fits super well. And part of the reason for why this is, if you think about what notes are in like your A major scale or your G major scale, your G major scale it has one sharp. It has an F sharp in it. And obviously our open strings, there's no F sharps, unless you have some weird tuning going on. But so that means, in theory, anytime we pull off to an open string when we're playing in the key of G, it's going to work. And there's going to be some intervals that maybe sound a little funky, but for the most part, you're going to be able to get away with it. Same thing with the A major has 3 sharps if you're into music theory, but without getting too much into them, all the open strings except for our G string. Bear with me here. I know we're getting into the forbidden territory here with theory, but over the key of A, all these open strings are going to work except for one of them. The G string is technically not in the A major scale. We would normally have a G sharp, but if you've heard me harp on this channel about the flat 7 or that dominant 7, or Mixolydian mode if people want to call it that, then that's where that G natural comes in over our A major scale. So in reality, any of the open strings are going to work super well over an A major scale as well, because we get that flat 7 feel in there too if we're using that G string. And as we kind of continue to transpose this up the neck, some of them are going to sound a little bit more out there. Like for example, if we do it over the key of B, actually that sounds super, it fits super well. Partly because we're playing an open B over our B chord. And something to keep in mind too, as you do start playing maybe open string licks or licks where notes don't maybe fit the scale exactly, there's kind of 2 ways to sell something if you're playing out. And part of it is you just have to really stick the landing. So if you're playing something that's super wild, all these extra notes that don't really seem to fit, but then you resolve it perfectly onto the root note or onto the note that you're trying to hit, you can kind of get away with adding in some extra funkiness. And then the other thing, and like Brad Paisley does this all the time, you want to pull off all these crazy open strings, just do it quickly and it ends up sounding really good. If you do it slowly, that's where you kind of get into that weird territory, like, yeah, slow it just sounds like crap, but you speed up the lick and you land, you resolve it on the right note, and you can get away with almost anything. Key of C, if we think C major, also all the open strings fit into the key of C major. But if you slow it down in C, just kind of the intervals what we're playing, it sounds funky slowed down, right? So here would be our C major. And that we kind of get into Brad Paisley territory there. Brad likes to play in the key of C or in the key of F, where C's your 5 chord. But he'll do a ton of open string pull-offs from kind of this position, this C major, like C major chord or like C minor pentatonic. But yeah, so key of C. Sounds great when you speed it up. Yeah. Key of C sharp or D flat sounds surprisingly good. Key of D. Key of E. So hopefully if you just kind of saw what I demonstrated, this works, it works over G, it works over A, it works over B, it works over C, it works over D, works over E. Pretty much all of the major chords, especially the ones that we're playing a lot in country progressions, like we like to play in the key of G, we like to play in the key of C, we like to play key of D, key of A. So this lick, you can throw it in pretty much over any chord you're playing over, and it's gonna work. I like it because once you learn it once, you can just do the exact same picking pattern, just in different parts of the neck, and it'll transpose nicely. So work on getting it under your fingers, work on getting it up to speed, and just have fun with this one. It can kind of get into some cool territory once you get the feel for it. That's it for the day. Just a quick introduction into a nice open string lick that I like to use. Hope you enjoy it, and yeah, that's all I got. Try to keep it short and sweet. We will see you all in the next lesson. Take care.